Welcome to the Daily Current Affairs by Civic Center IAS, where we try to discuss the top 10 important topics for the UPSC CSE Prelims for the day from the Hindu, the Indian Express and the PIB. Displayed are the list of topics which we have chosen for today's discussion. The first article of the day says that in a major boost to the fisheries sector in the northeastern region, the Union Minister inaugurated and laid the foundation for 50 impactful projects with a total outlay of 50 crore rupees, including a central share of 38.63 crore. Furthermore, these initiatives are designed to enhance the region's fisheries infrastructure, productivity, and employment opportunities. In this context, we'll talk about the PMMSY, which stands for Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana. See, the PMMSY is a government scheme aimed at boosting the fisheries sector in India with a focus on sustainability, modernization, and fishers' welfare. Know that the scheme was approved with a total investment of 20,050 crore rupees to be implemented over 5 years from the financial year 2020-21 to the financial year 2024-25. Now, what are the objectives of the scheme? See, the primary aims of the PMMSY are: firstly, harnessing fisheries potential in an inclusive, responsible, and equitable manner. Secondly, expanding and intensifying the fish production through land and water resource management. Thirdly, strengthening the post-harvest management, quality improvement, and technological advancements. Then, increasing the income of the fishers and fish farmers while generating the employment. Then, enhancing the contribution of the fisheries to the India's agricultural GDP and exports. And lastly, establishing a robust regulatory framework for fisheries and ensuring social, physical, and economic security for the farmers. Now, there are two main components under the scheme. The first one is the central sector scheme, where the 100% funding is done by the central government for the entire project or the unit cost. Know that the central assistance is up to 40% for the general category and 60% for the SC, ST or women category. Then we have the centrally sponsored scheme, where this component is further divided into non-beneficiary oriented and beneficiary oriented. Firstly, talking about the non-beneficiary oriented activities, see, for the northeastern and the Himalayan states, 90% central share and 10% state share is given. Then for the other states, 60% central share and 40% state share. But for the union territories, 100% of the central share is given under this non-beneficiary oriented activities. Whereas talking about the beneficiary oriented activities, under the general category, the government financial assistance is up to 40% of the project cost. Then for the SC, ST or the women category, government financial assistance is up to 60% of the project cost. Whereas for the northeastern Himalayan states, it's 90% central share and 10% state share. Then for other states, it's 60% from the center and 40% from the state. Whereas for the union territories, it's 100% from the center. The second article talks about UJALA Scheme in the context of it completing 10 years of energy efficient lighting. See, talking about the UJALA Scheme, launched on 5th January 2015 by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, originally called the Domestic Efficient Lighting Program, where the later rebranded as the UJALA Scheme, which stands for Unnat Jyoti by Affordable LEDs for All. Now, significantly, the objective of the scheme is to promote energy efficiency by providing affordable LED bulbs, tube lights, and energy efficient fans. Now, what about the achievements under this? See, under this, a total of 36.87 crore LED bulbs have been distributed as of January 2025. Furthermore, it enabled the sale of 407.92 crore LED bulbs in the market. Notably, it is the world's largest zero subsidy domestic lighting program. Now, what was the need for the UJALA? See, firstly, to achieve the energy efficiency. So, 7-watt LED bulb saves 90% of the energy compared to incandescent lamps and 50% energy compared to compact fluorescent lamps. Secondly, to achieve the affordability, where the LED appliances made affordable through competitive bidding, last 70 rupees per LED bulb, 220 rupees per the LED tube light, and 1110 rupees per energy efficient fan. Then the economic viability should be considered, where the LED bulbs reduce annual operating ownership costs significantly compared to CFLs and ICLs. Also, with respect to the electric usage, LED costs only 1 unit per 140 hours, whereas CFL costs 2 units and the ICL cost 9 units for 140 hours. Now, talking about its environmental impact, see, it contributed to reduced carbon emissions and supported India's climate change mitigation goals. Then we have the Street Lighting National Program. Talking about it, it was launched on 5th January 2015 alongside the UJALA Scheme. Know that it envisioned to replace the conventional street lights with smart, energy efficient LED street lights. Know that it's implemented by the Energy Efficient Services Limited under the Ministry of Power. Now, what are the objectives of it? See, firstly, to reduce the energy consumption and operational costs of the public lighting, and then to promote sustainability in urban and rural street lighting. Now, it is a very innovative business model because there is no upfront cost for the municipalities. EESL invests in installation and recoups the costs through annuities. Notably, it ensures over 95% uptime for street lights, enhancing public safety. Now, what are the achievements under the scheme? See, it installed over 1.34 crore LED street lights across India. Furthermore, it saved over 9,001 MUs of electricity annually. Lastly, reduced peak demand by 1500 megawatt and CO2 emissions by 6.2 million tons per year. What is the environmental and economic impact of it? See, it significantly reduced the public lighting costs for municipalities and also improved energy efficiency and reduced environmental impact was achieved. The third article of the day says that China's Disease Control Authority is piloting a monitoring system for pneumonia of unknown origin focusing on respiratory infections. So an increase in the human Metapneumovirus cases, particularly among the children under 14, has been reported in the northern provinces. But the viral post suggested a health emergency in China, but no official declaration has been made. In this context, we'll talk about the human metapneumovirus. See, what is HMPV? See, it is from the virus family Nemidoviridae, where it is related to respiratory syncytial virus, measles, and mumps. Significantly, it was first identified in 2001. But talking about the infections, it causes mild respiratory infections similar to common cold. Notably, it is most prevalent in winter and early spring. Now, who are the susceptible groups for it? See, the children, the elderly, and the individuals with the weakened immune system are the susceptible groups for it. Talking about its signs and symptoms, see, the common symptoms for it are cough, runny or blocked nose, sore throat, fever, and wheezing. Know that the incubation period is 3 to 6 days, whereas the recovery usually resolves on its own within a few days with rest and supportive care. But there are few complications which are very rare, where the bronchitis or pneumonia may occur requiring medical attention. Now, what about the transmission for this HMPV? See, talking about its mode of spread, see, firstly, direct contact with an infected person you can get contaminated, then touching contaminated objects and then touching the face, and even respiratory secretions can help you get contaminated. Then what about the preventive measures for it, or what are the measures you can take? Firstly, frequent hand washing with soap and water. Secondly, to avoid close contact with infected individuals. Thirdly, refraining from touching the face, eyes, nose or mouth. And lastly, wear a mask to prevent the transmission if infected. Talking about its prevention and treatment. See, with respect to treatment, no vaccine or specific antiviral is available. Over-the-counter medications for the fever and pain, decongestants may help. But the antibiotics are ineffective as the HMPV is a viral infection. Talking about its prevention, see, it can be prevented by regular hygiene practices, mask usage in the case of infection, extra precautions for individuals with lung conditions such as asthma or COPD. The fourth article of the day says that Uttar Pradesh has achieved the highest number of hospital registrations under the Ayushman Bharat Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, both at government and private hospitals, according to Deputy Chief Minister Brajesh Patak. So in this context, we'll talk about the Ayushman Bharat scheme. See, the Ayushman Bharat is a flagship scheme of the Government of India, which was launched as recommended by the National Health Policy of 2017 to achieve the vision of universal health coverage. Know that this initiative has been designed to meet sustainable development goals and its underlying commitment, which is to leave no one behind. Furthermore, the Ayushman Bharat adopts a continuum of care approach, comprising of two interrelated components, which are the health and wellness centers and the Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. Talking about the Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, see, the primary purpose of it is that it is the largest health assurance scheme in the world, which was launched in 2018, aiming at providing a health cover of 5 lakh rupees per family for a year for the secondary and tertiary care hospitalization to over 12 crores poor and vulnerable families that form the bottom 40% of the Indian population. Now, who are eligible under it? See, the households included are based on the deprivation and occupational criteria of the socio-economic caste census of 2011 for the rural and urban areas respectively. Talking about its background, see, the PMJAY is earlier known as the National Health Protection Scheme before it being rechristened. So it subsumed the then existing Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana, which had been launched in 2008. What about its funding? See, the PMJAY is fully funded by the government and the cost of implementation is shared between the central and the state governments. Know that the National Health Authority has been constituted as an autonomous entity under the Society Registration Act of 1860 for the effective implementation of the PMJAY in alliance with the state governments. Furthermore, the State Health Agency is the apex body of the state government responsible for the implementation of it in the state. Know that it is accessible at public and private empaneled hospitals across India. The next article says that the carcass of a tigress aged 4 to 5 years was found in the Pench Tiger Reserve in the Madhya Pradesh Shiv district with an official saying on Monday that it is suspected to be a case of poaching. In this context, we will talk about the Pench Tiger Reserve. See, the reserve is located in the southern reaches of the Satpura Hills in the Sioni and the Chhindwara districts in Madhya Pradesh and continues in the Nagpur district in Maharashtra as a separate sanctuary. Know that it is named after the Pench River, which flows from north to south through the reserve. Now, why is it significant? Talking about the flora and fauna in the reserve, see, it is dominated by the tropical moist deciduous forests with teak as the prominent species. Furthermore, it hosts a variety of wildlife, including the Royal Bengal tigers, leopards, wild dogs, and gaur. And even the Pench Tiger Reserve was declared as a tiger reserve in 1992 under Project Tiger. Know that it has connection to literature also, because the reserve inspired Rudyard Kipling's famous book, The Jungle Book. Furthermore, the Pench is the India's first interstate tiger reserve, highlighting its role in the interstate cooperation for conservation. The next article says that a woman and her daughter had a close shave in the Assam's Kaziranga National Park when they fell off a safari vehicle with rhinos in close proximity, according to an official. In this context, we will talk about the Kaziranga National Park. See, it is situated in the Golaghat and Nagaon districts of Assam. Know that it lies on the banks of the Brahmaputra River. Significantly, it is recognized as a World Heritage Site by the UNESCO in 1985. You have to know that it is home to the Big Five, which are the one-horned rhinoceros, the Royal Bengal tiger, Asian elephant, wild water buffalo, and lastly swamp deer. Notably, it was declared a tiger reserve in 2006 under the Project Tiger. Furthermore, the park consists of wetlands, grasslands, and semi-evergreen forests shaped by annual flooding from the Brahmaputra. Talking about the rivers, see, the Difalu River flows through the core of the critical tiger habitat, whereas the Moradifalu River flows along the southern boundary of the park. Now, talking about the biodiversity in the park, see, talking about the fauna, the notable species are Hulok gibbons, Indian pangolin, Gangetic dolphin, and Indian python. Whereas the high density of the migratory birds, including the lesser adjutant, pelicans, and bar-headed geese are also observed. Then, talking about the flora, it is dominated by the tall elephant grass, tropical moist deciduous forests, and flood-resistant plants like the water hyacinth. Now, what is the conservation success story of it? See, it is known for successfully reviving the one-horned rhinoceros population through effective anti-poaching measures. So, it was recognized and awarded for it by designated as a Ramsar site in 2021 for its rich wetland ecosystem and part of the Eastern Himalayan biodiversity hotspot. The next article says that the manufacturing levels in the India's private sector may have slumped to a 12-month low in December, but the services activity regained the momentum last month after a mild moderation in November as new orders and output levels hit a 4-month high as per the private survey-based gauge. So in this article we'll talk about the HSBC India Services Business Activity Index, commonly known as the Services PMI of the Purchasing Managers Index, which is a vital indicator of the performance and health of the India's services sector. In this context, I will talk about the Purchasing Managers Index. See, it is a survey-based measure that asks the respondents about the changes in their perception about the key business variables as compared with the previous month. Significantly, the purpose of the PMI is to provide information about the current and the future business conditions to the company decision makers, analysts, and investors. Now, there are two types of PMI, the manufacturing PMI and the services PMI. So, it is calculated separately for the manufacturing and services sector, and then a composite index is also constructed. So, now we have to talk particularly about the services PMI. See, it measures the month-over-month changes in the business activity within the services sector, providing insights into economic conditions. Know that it indicates whether the business activity in the services sector is expanding, contracting, or remaining unchanged. So, a reading above 50 means expansion, below 50 means contraction, whereas if it is at 50, it shows no change. Now, why is it significant or important? See, the services sector is a major contributor to the GDP in many countries, including India also, where it accounts for over 50% of the economy. So, it provides the early indicators of consumer demand, hiring trends, and the economic health in the services sector. Talking about the services PMI in India, it is compiled by the ISH market. Note that the surveys include businesses in sectors like IT, finance, communication, and tourism. Furthermore, it is often released before the GDP data, providing timely insights into the economic trends. So, it is important or significant for the following reasons. The next article says that the Centre on Monday notified the appointment of 2 advocates as judges of the Delhi High Court. In this context, we'll talk about the appointment of judges and then we'll briefly touch upon the collegium system. See, Article 217 of the Constitution states that the judge of a High Court shall be appointed by the President in consultation with the Chief Justice of India and the Governor of the state. But in the case of the appointment of a judge other than the Chief Justice of the High Court is also consulted. Now, what is this consultation process? See, the High Court judges are recommended by a collegium comprising of the CJI and the 2 most senior judges. Then the proposal, however, is initiated by the Chief Justice of the High Court concerned in the consultation with the 2 senior most colleagues. Then the recommendation is sent to the Chief Minister, who advises the Governor to send the proposal to the Union Law Minister. Then the Chief Justice of the High Court is appointed as per the policy of having Chief Justices from the outside the respective states. Now, talking about the collegium system, see, it is a system of appointment and transfer of judges that has evolved through judgments of the Supreme Court and not by an act of Parliament or by the provisions of the Constitution. Talking about the evolution of the system, see, in the first judge's case, it was declared that the primacy of the Chief Justice of India recommendation on judicial appointments and transfers can be refused for cogent reasons. So the ruling gave the executive primacy over the judiciary in judicial appointments for the next 12 years. But in the second judge's case of 1993, the Supreme Court introduced the collegium system, holding the consultation meant concurrent. So it added that it was not the CJI's individual opinion, but an institutional opinion formed in consultation with the 2 senior-most judges in the Supreme Court. Then lastly, in the third judge's case of 1998, the Supreme Court on precedence reference expanded the collegium to a 5-member body comprising of the Chief Justice of India and 4 of his senior-most colleagues. The next article says that in a milestone for ISRO, the copy seeds it is sent as space to the part of the biological experiment on December 30th have sprouted their first leaves according to the Space Agency. So in this context, we'll talk about the CROPS experiment overview, which stands for the Compact Research Module for the Orbital Planet Studies. See, the Compact Research Module for Orbital Planet Studies, in short called the CROPS, is an innovative experiment developed by the Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, which is a key center of the Indian Space Research Organization. Significantly, the primary objective of crops is to develop and evolve ISRO's capabilities for growing and sustaining flora in the extraterrestrial environments. Talking about its mission details, see the launch vehicle which was used was the PSLV C-60 and the launch date was December 30th of 2024. Know that it was on the platform of the POEM-4, which is the fourth stage of the rocket orbiting Earth at the 350-kilometer latitude. Notably, the purpose is hosting 24 onboard experiments, including the plant growth studies. Now, what is it about this cowpea seeds experiment? See, 8 cowpea seeds sent as part of the experiment, where the germination has been observed within 4 days in a controlled microgravity environment. Now, what do we mean by controlled environment? It means it is stimulated plant conditions for the extended space travel, and also it is observed that the plant behavior under the absence of the Earth's gravitational influence impacting root and shoot orientation. Now, why was this experiment significant? See, firstly, it was important because it is about understanding the plant growth in microgravity. So, it helps us study plant adaptations in space and gives us insights in creating sustainable food systems in extraterrestrial environments. Now, talking about the applications for the long duration space missions, see the future missions to the moon, Mars, and beyond require plants for food production, oxygen generation, and psychological well-being of the crew members. Also, it denotes the advancement of space farming, where cowpea, a resilient and a nutritious legume, could be a key crop for space agriculture under the controlled growth experiments, which contribute to the development of self-sufficient life support systems for space habitats. Then, with respect to microgravity, see, microgravity is the condition in which the gravity's effects are minimal, allowing the objects and the astronauts to float freely. Referred to as zero gravity, though this term is inaccurate since gravity exists even in space. Now, how does it impact the living systems? Say, with respect to humans, it causes muscle atrophy and bone density due to reduced gravitational forces. Whereas, with respect to plants, it alters the way roots sense gravity, nutrient uptake, and water distribution. Then, this is with respect to the PS4 or the POEM-4 experiment. You can have a look. The last article of the day says that ISRO has postponed its key docking experiment scheduled for Tuesday to January 9th, adding more ground stimulations were needed based on the abort scenario that has been identified. In this context, we'll talk about the SpaDeX mission and then we'll look at the docking mechanism. See, the SpaDeX is a mission initiated by the Indian Space Research Organization focused on mastering in-space docking technology. Know that the mission aims to demonstrate the ability of 2 satellites to dock and undock while in motion in orbit around the Earth. Now, what is the importance of the mission? See, the in-space docking technology is crucial for the 2 future space operations, particularly for the satellite servicing and for constructing the space stations. So, this technology will be integral to the operation of the Bharatiya Antariksh Station, which is India's planned space station. Talking about the mission details, see, it was launched on December 30th of 2024. Know that there are 2 satellites, Chaser and Target, which will be launched into a 470-kilometer wide circular orbit at a 55 degrees inclination. Furthermore, the satellites will follow a local time cycle of approximately 66 days. Now, talking about the satellites, the spacecraft weighs around 220 kg each, where the Chaser and the Target satellites will demonstrate docking maneuvers, which is the primary objective of the mission. So after the docking is achieved, the 2 satellites will move on to the secondary objectives, which include transferring the electric power between the docked spacecraft. Furthermore, this is essential for future technologies like in-space robotics, spacecraft control, and payload operations after undocking. Now, why is this significant for India? See, if this is successful, India will become the 4th country globally to have capability of in-space docking. So, in this video, we have discussed 10 articles in total for today. We'll be back again with another video tomorrow. Thank you.